Welcome back to Rosekill BNLC Horse Thief Route, and I don't have any train, but I'm probably that very sure that in case I just leave the game and rejoin it back in 2 days later, we're gonna be making a locomotive and making for such as many more trains to do this. But first thing, I have finally slightly went all the way to the BNLC Summit Yard that this is where that I just continued the video, and probably this is where I just look onto it, and probably gonna be going up here for just a little bit of one time. So it's time to spawn a train as fast as we can. So we cannot doing this, but we're gonna be going for an expand line here. This is the track 2. And looks like we just got any rolling stock left. So we're gonna be expanding as well. But instead of being LC, let's gonna be going all the way up by using Billington Northern as well. So in case it was very loud, we're gonna be getting all the way up here for the F45 C30, and we're gonna be using for GP40 -2. And so instead of SC40, I think I'm probably not sure the SD40 wasn't gonna be ready to do this as well. So we're starting for an absolutely for one thing, and we cannot able to be spawning a little bit for just one more. So we have for such locomotives as well. And I cannot believe we're absolutely using for locomotives. We still actually have diesels. So we have many more of these things, especially for game passes. But let's just doing for these electric as well. But instead of the Billington Northern, we added electric instead of game pass. Put some steam. I have to find somewhere else that we're gonna be doing this. So I'll be choosing the GP40-2. So we're gonna be using for around for many more of these things. Ah, well, forget it. So look, I just spawned. But unfortunately, it wasn't right to spawn from all over here from anything it goes. Then I decided that we just completely spawn from many more of these trains from those 2 SD40s and a GP37s or whatever we try to guess. I think this isn't gonna be right to spawn all the way, because I really don't think this isn't gonna be going for just as well. And before I just gonna be trying to spawn anyways, the locomotives were sound pretty loud. But looks like we're gonna be trying over here. So let's just spawn that way. And we're gonna be doing for such as one thing is we need to get a little bit of rolling stock, and we're gonna be expanded. And the caboose is going to be right over here. Instead of just gonna be expanded right over here for just one. This is the caboose. And we're gonna be expanded. And there must be cat beams or some sort of like these things. We're gonna be using for just like it's clean. And we're gonna be doing for such as one thing for speed lettering. Nope, instead of 50 foot, we're gonna be doing for around for many more of these. So we'll try now to get ourselves a 40 foot as well. So we're going to get a little bit for one thing as well. 50 foot and a hoppers. We're possibly gonna be going a little bit. We have our last 14 cars left, and I will be exiting for just right now. So it's still absolutely gonna be spawning for many more of these things. Starting with a caboose and with some box cars and pretty a lot of these things. The bulkhead and the Caterham for just a little bit for one thing. Many bulkheads as well, and I'm probably where is absolutely there must be the green heavy duty gondolas. And what about the Caterham? Flat cars? Heavy duty flat cars? We have a heavy duty flat cars we got here. So instead we got some sort of hoppers as well. Let's just try to search for Caterbeams. And probably we still have many more kinds of box cars as well. Well, instead of Caterbeams that we have such as pipes, we have last 18, 17 cars left. And steel beams as well. And we still have for actually last 10 things left. So I need to set this limit and we're gonna be spawning over here. So we still have any kinds of like these things, but unfortunately I have to delete some, and we're not gonna be doing this again. And first off, we got 10 cars left instead of for the box cars we got over here, and like this thing as well for the many more of these things for without markings. So let's go for actually gonna be one thing as for like these things, and instead of dirty cars for many more things we got for such as one thing for whatsoever. So as we'll be seeing for the one thing, I guess we're not allowed to do this as well, and there must be too many cars, and that slightly might be able to derail. Now let's try 50 foot, and probably this isn't gonna be going for a run here. So we have a standard box car. We put it a little bit two more, and one thing, and probably not gonna be doing for such as many things. And we almost spawned the rest of this thing, and I don't really think this isn't gonna be going for just a crash. Let's go for the MRL, and looks like this isn't gonna be going for around here. No markings, and then that is gonna be the rest of like this thing as well. So we did not actually gonna be trying to do this, but let's just get rid of this thing a little bit for just one thing. So not in my case, it was just a little bit awkward and I may refuse to spawn in. So here it goes. We have multiple tracks and derailed trains we have detected around here. So we cannot be allowed to start the job and throughout many more things, that in case that doesn't gonna be matters worse. So we're gonna be couple for about of these box cars, and I have to cancel it as well. So still absolutely no jobs whatsoever, that they're just gonna be pulled into one thing as well. We're gonna be find somewhere to put in its hand to step a little bit in. And once I clear the track, we have last 3 rolling stock cars left. So all you have to do is to find the hoppers, and we're probably not sure this isn't gonna be going around here. for many more reasons. Let's just get down a little bit for one thing. Instead of bulkhead as well, the bigatons as well, and a lot of their cells. If I just spawn for one of their cells, I think we just completely spawn for around here. So a little bit expand here, and we'll not start for this a little bit for one job as well. So it's already have full of cars, and we got a little bit, a lot of their cells, and most likely we just spawn, and then I spawn the rail box. So that is a little bit all, and it was pretty tragically. So am I gonna be deleting anything about here? And it's completely gone ruined. So I suggest we're gonna be canceling the job, and it was a horrible mistake. We got the last few of them that we're gonna be trying to do this again. The bad news is we don't have any cars left, but we cannot be allowed to spawn for many more of these things, and it was actually very worst as well. So we don't have for many more of these coals, and looks like we just eventually ran out of hoppers as well. So this should be doing it as well, and we cannot believe that the train limit is probably a little bit worth it. And looks like we got for our last things as well, but it eventually that doesn't gonna be matters worse, and it looks like it has been completely worse, but looks like I'm probably not to do what anything it was. So we're not suggest that we're just gonna be trying to spawn a little bit. So I'll be moving the locomotive for just a little bit back, and probably we're not gonna be doing this for a little bit of one time as well. So it's not gonna be a little bit moving as well. Something was actually spawning going on out here. Will not think that is the bad news. It was my internet connection is gonna get a little bit worse. Unfortunately, it will be getting more worse as possible. We'll be taking for a little bit of while, but since the entire train will be derailed as well, so it looks like the train limit is gonna be for very too much, and it's a little bit for getting along for itself. And so we're gonna be replacing it about for those 50 foot instead of those things. Ooh, we cannot believe. I can't scroll a little bit back in, but looks like we cannot able to do for this Autobots is like this thing, still having for such as rolling stock. And what about we cannot believe to expand for as well. So what about the Cater Beam? And the last thing isn't gonna be going for around for doing like this. So one more locomotive, and probably this isn't gonna be going for around here. So it must be running out of those things. We have to just completely cancel. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, this isn't gonna be going for just like this thing. We have 2 Cater Beams, so I really have actually Cater Beams we got over here. So let's completely spawn, and we're not allowed to start the job as once again. And the train is gonna be ready for a long haul and all the way up as really fast as possible. But sadly, things were not gonna be going for a little bit as well. So I'll be coupling for against of these two. And strangely, this has got to be a little bit too much. Well, now absolutely having for a full of those SD40s. And I cannot believe this isn't actually going to be the largest train. I think this is going to be that I just completely made the longest train all the way up right here. So, but actually that I just completely spawned. It wasn't just like the passenger train by itself. What looks like we're gonna be the couple around this, but this is actually for such as one accident completely. And I guess we're gonna be spawning for just 5 locomotives. And we're gonna be doing diesel, electric, steam. And we're gonna be expanding a little bit. And there must be new release of new locomotives as well. Instead of like this for a Pace 3 locomotive were just really possible. So it's gonna be followed by multiples of Burlington Northern locomotives that they just completely spawn, and by the U30C. It's gonna be driven onto the back, and it sounds like pretty terrible by itself. So we're still gonna be de-expand. As you can see, the locomotive for itself is right on the back, and it sounds like probably pretty terrible as well. I sense that we're never gonna be trying to do this as well. We're spawning for just 5 locomotives or less, and right behind him isn't gonna be multiple of the Burlington Northern units, and this is absolutely gonna be going for a little bit for one thing as well. GP40 and the SD40. We got some other kinds of the SD40s that we just actually gonna be spawned right now. 2 new locomotives have just spawned in. I think we're gonna be trying to get a little bit ready to make things a little bit as possible. So, followed by like these things and MKT. As we slowly try to reach up for just a little bit as well. We're now going to be using 5 locomotives or less, and we'll be added some more of those locomotives we got over here. So we got 5 locomotives, and it's going to be ready to go later on.